Inventory is way up and sales are down. But prices, they're still holding strong. With the quarter reading that might shock you, I've got data on luxury home sales that completely defies what you're hearing in the headlines. Stay tuned to see what's really happening at the top of our market. Let's unpack what's going in Kelowna's real estate market. We're looking at the quarter two statistics, and you're seeing a lot of headlines in the marketplace. Toronto's real estate market, and a lot of negative headlines coming out because let's be honest, those get clicks. Is it really happening? We're going to break it down. And hey, it's Mark Coons here with Selling Kelowna Real Estate Group. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest in the Okanagan, pick up that phone, give me a call, shoot me an email, I've got your back. If you want to get real estate market statistics for the Okanagan, sign up below in the comment sections, like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Let's just get into it. A blog that we did, KelownaRealEstate.com. Kelowna Real Estate's market update for quarter two. This is really what buyers and sellers need to know right now in the real estate market. Let's be honest. There's a lot of uncertainty. This is why I'm trying to provide value for everybody and looking at it. There is a lot to go through. We're going to start here. We are seeing inventory rising. Let's just start at the end with the apartment buildings. Spoiler alert, the apartments might be the hardest hit, or it might not be. Looking at the total market, we are looking at the overall marketplace, single family homes. We're going to go through it. Townhomes as well. Months of inventory in the total marketplace, we're at a higher months of inventory, about 9 months of inventory. And you can look. So this yellow line here is the trend line. So you're going to notice that one, and then another line for all the graphs we're going to look at. And this green line here, what you see here, that's the 10-year average. This is how much difference it is in the marketplace. We're seeing about a 5-month difference between months of inventory for the total market. Total amount of active listings in the marketplace, the monthly active listings, record high active listings as we're seeing it, 4,100 active listings at the end of the month. This is just on residential, not including the commercial aspects and farms. And when we're looking at the big picture, the total amount of sales, this is sales volume. You see the 10-year average here, and we're selling well below the 10-year average. We are starting to see and continuing to see the seasonal trends. With the exception of one of the other markets, here is the single family home sales. Now we're getting into the single family home sales, and this is the one that has actually been impacted the least amount in 2025 so far. Single family homes right now are holding pretty strong. There was this week $4,500,000 home that sold in 3 days. There was 16 homes over $2 million that have sold in the last week. Can you believe that? It's just incredible. I just don't believe the headlines, right? Things are selling and just depends on price point, and there's lots of negotiation power. But total volume, back to the task at hand. The price appreciation, what we're seeing in the marketplace, even despite dropped sales, the total volume, because of prices have increased so much in the last 10 years, this is still projecting and going over the 10-year average. When we look at months inventory on the single family home side of things, it's really sitting flat right at 8 months of inventory. We're getting a little bit closer to the 10-year average. Good signs, good things to have. When you look at the single family home side of things, we are following the seasonal trends, and it is trending, continuing to follow the exact seasonal trends as the 10-year average. A lot more fluctuations in every other year. And you look at the peak sales back in 2021, 2022, it was just a ridiculous market when we're looking at it. This is a healthier market. And as we break it down and look at the townhomes, this is where things are starting to get dicey. When you're looking at the townhome market, total sales volume started to plunge in the last month. We saw it, we were looking pretty good in May, and you can see an uptick following the seasonal average in May, but then a complete drop off. And I think that might have had to do something with the GST announcement and first-time home buyers realizing how ridiculous some of the stipulations are. Contracts need to be written. People are just getting frustrated and pulling out. So I totally understand that aspect to it. When you look at the months of inventory in the townhome market, slightly increasing. This is where the sales volume for the townhome, where we saw the drop in inventory. We're starting to separate a little bit more here from the 10-year average. We are starting to see more active listings hitting the market in the townhomes. This one month, I think in July, we're going to start to see the active number of listings pop up again. If it follows the 10-year average, it's going to sit there until about September and then start coming off the marketplace. But with a lot of new construction happening, we might see that continue to increase if they don't want to put renters in. But now we're starting to get into the more exciting stuff. So when you're looking at the apartment sales, total volume has been sitting pretty slow. It's well below the 10-year average. When you looked at the single family and when we looked at the townhome market, those ones were above the 10-year average, with the exception of last month on the townhome. But this month, you can see how we're trending. There's not as much confidence right now in the townhome, in the apartment market, and it's at 10-year lows. And when you look at this volume, even with the price appreciation we're seeing, we're still below the 10-year average. We're still in the middle though. If you look and you compare to other years, it's not a complete write-off. It is pretty well balanced. So yes, we're below the 10-year average, but we are going through a lot. This is one of the most volatile markets anybody's ever really been in, changing day by day, week by week, just based on one tweet. And back to apartments. This is where we're really seeing the inventory increase. Months of inventory is telling us that no new listings come on the market. Based on current demand, how many months of inventory would it take to get to zero? And it's saying 11 months. Look at this compared to all the other months. This was COVID, once they announced COVID. And you couldn't actually go into these buildings. So we saw it spike, and then it dropped, and it stayed low. Right now, we're right there. So something concerned. If you are a seller of an apartments, that's something to continue to watch. But if you're a buyer, that's where there's opportunity, right? And I do have some people buying apartments right now, and it is a good time. You don't expect it to increase dramatically tomorrow. It's time in the market. If you're only in it for 1 or 2 years, it might not be the best time to get into the market. But if you're planning 10, 15, 20 years holding it, time in the market is really the bigger change on it. This chart is the one that we want to see. And this is the one that we don't also want to see. This one is the active number of listings. So as an apartment seller, you can see in the last 10 years, even though the chart and the inventory is increasing on a seasonal basis, it is a higher peak than what we are getting. And we've never, in the last 10 years, seen this type of listings. Look at the gap. From the previous highest amount, we're right around 190 additional listings on the marketplace for this time of year. So that is incredible. There's 200 approximately more listings on the market than there was in the previous high in the last 10 years. So going back to all the way to 2015. That is what you guys need to know in the real estate market. When we're looking at the marketplace, don't believe all the headlines. There's some positives to pull out of all these statistics for the second quarter of 2025, and homes are still selling. And that's why I'm doing the Real Estate Weekly segment, where we're breaking it down and seeing what's actively selling in the marketplace, because homes are still selling every single day. And it's really just dependent on the price point. So if you're a buyer in this market, it is a great opportunity seeing the amounts of inventory and months of inventory stack up. And as a seller, there is still lots of opportunity on it. You still need a place to live. Unless you're selling a rental property or an investment, you still are going to need a place to live. You can make it up on the buy.